Hi, Miss V here. In this video, you will be learning about how to remove something using the spot healing tool from the toolbar. You'll also be able to, after watching this video, select an object using a combination of the object select tool and the quick select tool. You'll be able to duplicate a layer using our Command T or, Command J or Alt J on a PC. You'll also be able to duplicate a selection of a layer into a new layer. We'll be using the free transform tool to resize an object. And finally, we'll be learning how to use the hue saturation adjustment layer to change the color of an object that you have selected in your layer. Okay, let's get started. So over here in Photoshop, I have some pre-existing I've already opened up a few files, and you can see that because the tabs on the top indicate different files that happen to be open at the moment. Here in the center is my canvas with the main piece that I am working on. I can hit Command plus to zoom in a little bit, Command minus to zoom out. I also have my main toolbar over here on the right with all of the tools that are most used in Photoshop. Remember that every time I click on a tool, the parameters up at the top, the options that I can change that might impact how that tool will function, change as well. So in the marquee, it might be something different than it would be in the lasso tool, and it might be different in the eyedropper tool. You can see that happen live as you click on the tools. Last thing to remember is that these tools have more tools nestled underneath them. So if you click and hold on one of those tools, you will see at least 3 or 4 other tools available underneath. So if we go to the marquee tool, there's several there. If we go to the lasso tool, you can see there are several there. Remember, the top 3 tools here are more like selection tools that can be used in a combination of ways. And we're going to go over that today too. The first thing we're going to go over though is a new tool, and it is the spot healing brush tool, the keyboard shortcut of J. Again, another universal system logic here is that you can always see the keyboard shortcut just to the right of any tool in Adobe Photoshop. All right, so we have our healing brush tool, and you know what? I'm going to zoom in using my Command plus. I'm going to hold down my spacebar to toggle inside of a hand, which will allow me to click and drag that tool. It's a great way to navigate through your image. As I'm clicking and dragging, I'm moving. Aha, I've spotted this little window here. I think I want to remove that. So again, I have my healing brush tool on. You're going to want to check up on your parameters specific to that tool, and you want to make sure that the sample all layers option is clicked. So mine was already checked. I unchecked it just to show you where it was, and then I'm going to check it again, make sure that sample all layers is on. All right, now I'm coming down with my brush tool, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to just kind of move around on that window. If your brush tool is a different size, if it's way too small or way too big, that's another parameter that you can change up here in the top. So here's my size. Right. Keyboard shortcut for changing any brush in Photoshop is actually the bracket. So left bracket will reduce the size of your brush, and right bracket will increase the size of your brush. So I have it about the size I want. I'm going to click and just drag all the way around that little window or vent area. And when I release, the computer program is sampling all of those pixels all around it, and lovely. Looks amazing. It used to take so long to do, and now it seems seamless and beautiful. Okay, so that's a great way, one of the ways to remove something from an image. Again, there's a myriad of ways to do things in Photoshop, and you'll find your go-to methods and strategies the more you use it, but this is one great example. So that was the spot healing tool, removing something in your object, in your image. All right, so then we're going to move on to select an object by using a combination of our object select tool and our quick select tool. Let's move over to actually this horse file. So I'm clicking on the tab up above, opening a new file. Remembering as I look over to my layers window or my layers panel over here, I can see those elements, those characteristics that make up every layer. I have a title, I have a thumbnail. It gives me a visual clue as to what's on there. And I have my visibility, right? I also notice that this layer is locked right now. So if I wanted to actually do something to this layer, I would need to double click to unlock it. Now I can toggle in and out of my visibility, and you can see there's nothing behind it. This is a single layer file right now. If I had more layers, I could readjust which layer was on top, dragging and dropping and affecting the stacking order, essentially. Okay, so to select this, I am going to, let's see, I'm going to choose our object selection tool, fairly new tool. I'm going to make sure that sample all layers is clicked up in my parameters. And then I'm also going to make sure that my mode is in a lasso mode so I can free draw around this. You do have the option of a rectangle mode, which I think is the default, so you might need to change it to lasso. I'm going to click and drag around my horse. Doesn't need to be too perfect. And I'll just finish that off pretty quickly here. And remember, you need to come back around, finish that shape off when you're using the lasso tool. So as you can see, the object selection tool tried to identify the object that I was trying to select and find that difference, that border between that. It does an okay job, right? I probably would go in, obviously work on other areas, but for what we're doing right now, this is going to work just fine. Okay, so I've selected using the object selection tool, and now I want to show you how to duplicate just this selection and put it into a new layer. So I'm going to actually give you a keyboard shortcut here that is pretty valuable. You're going to do Command J. It would be an Alt J on the PC. So now notice in your layers panel, what do we have here? We have layer 0, our original layer, and layer 1. If I click off, if I toggle off the visibility for layer 0, you'll see layer 1 is just that selection. So I was able to pull and copy just that selection of my layer 0 into a brand new layer. Now, if I wanted to duplicate the entire layer, I could actually just have layer 0 highlighted, same keyboard shortcut, Command J. It's basically a duplicate layer option, right? And so now we see I have 3 layers, and 2 of them are exactly the same. One is a direct copy of it. Okay. But mostly importantly, I was interested in getting just that horse. So moving on to the free transform tool. This will allow you to resize an object and do several other things. You can make sure your layer is active by noticing that it's highlighted, going up to your main menu, edit, and you can navigate down to free transform. Again, you have your keyboard shortcut just to the right of your option here. So it's Command T, Alt T on a PC, and I get a bounding box. This is where I can play with that object now. I can use the corner anchor points to scale, to resize. So if I want to duplicate this horse, put a couple more in the background of that image, copy and paste them all over the place, you can essentially do that. I can also rotate this image a little bit. And I can change, if I didn't want to rotate on that center axis, I could take that and move it and rotate somewhere else. So that becomes handy. And then here's really where it gets a lot of fun. You can hold down Command or Alt on a PC, click on a corner anchor point, and now I can skew and change this perspective by adjusting all of these corner points independent of the others. So that is pretty fun too. So you can skew, scale, rotate, size, all that good stuff. Pretty good. I'm going to hit enter to accept those changes that I just made. And now I'm going to turn on my back layer, and I'm going to move this guy over just a little bit more using my move tool so he's in the background. Now we've got interesting looking horse in the back there. Certainly resized. I think I want it a little bit smaller. Let's bring you down a little bit. Move you up on the canvas so it really looks like you're in the distance, right? So we're using our scale, our size, and our placement on our canvas to kind of indicate where that object, that horse, is in space, in the depth of the canvas that we're creating here. Okay, so We did the spot healing brush with the building image here. Then with this horse image, we went over object selection tool and the free transform tool.